What's up, YouTube? A couple weeks ago, Kris said, hey, Paul, I'm going to go do a 24-hour silent camping meditation retreat. I said, Kris, that's a great idea. Let's turn that into our next YouTube video. So that's exactly what we're going to do. And we got a meditation schedule right here. We've got 7 meditations starting today. I'm Mountain Standard Time. He's Central Time. We should be able to do the math to sync this. So I'm going to be going up Spanish Creek. It's on the way to Big Sky in Montana. He's in North Dakota by some beautiful lake. And here's the schedule starting today at 2 p.m. my time, 3 p.m. his time. We've got at 2 p.m. a 15-minute sitting meditation. 3 p.m. we've got a 10-minute visual meditation. 5 p.m. a 15-minute walking meditation. At 7 p.m., we've got a 30-minute sitting meditation. And then tomorrow morning, at 7 a.m., bright and early, we've got a 20-minute breathwork session. We've got at 8 a.m., a 5-minute auditory meditation. And at 10 a.m., this should be fun, we've got a 25-minute wildlife meditation where we're just going to take photos of as much wildlife, things that are moving, all wildlife that we can see, and then we're going to put it into a compilation. That should be fun. So some parameters with this, we've decided no books, no music, no electronics, no headphones. The only electronics are for documentation purposes. We are allowing a pen and a paper for journaling and writing down our thoughts and things like that. I've got my bear spray where I'm going. There's a lot of grizzly bears, a lot of moose. You actually got to be worried about the moose. But I've got my vicious standard poodle Ben. And although it's in silence, we've got hand signals, so we should be just fine. Kris, anything else you want to mention?
Hey everyone, like Paul said, I came up with this idea, I don't know, maybe a month or two ago, and I hit him up just to kind of figure out if he had any ideas on like what to do during this 24 hours that I want to spend out in nature. I've camped basically my whole life, but like a silent meditation retreat, going solo is a new thing for me. So I was looking for some help, and when he thought, hey, let's make a video out of this. Let's do it together and make a video. I jumped on board. I'm like, heck yeah. So the reason I wanted to do this is I just hit 3 years last month. I feel really good. I feel strong in my recovery, but I know that things are always changing, and my approach to my recovery needs to continue to grow and evolve as I continue to grow and evolve. This summer was really good. I spent a lot of time with my family. We did a lot of camping in our camper, boating, and it was amazing. But as we head into this new season, like literally into the fall, and my kids and wife are going back to school, I feel like I just kind of want to check myself, spend a little bit of time with myself, listen to my mind, listen to my body, and just kind of figure out like where I'm going next. So yeah, I'm not really going in with any sort of crazy intention other than to just listen to myself, listen to God, listen to nature. And maybe I'll find through some of these meditations that Paul talked about, maybe I'll find that I need to head in another direction or change things up or add something to my routine, or maybe I'll just get confirmation that I'm going down the right path and just to keep at it. So no expectations, just going to connect with myself, connect with God, and connect with nature. And I'm pretty excited for the next 24 hours. Paul talked about bears and moose. Could be some potential challenges for him. I will be going north of the little town that we live in to a big lake in North Dakota called Lake Sakakawea. I'm going to have to hike about a mile in from where I parked my truck to get to a spot on the shoreline where I'm going to go. And really, I don't know, there might be some coyotes or something around, but it'll be all right. But it's supposed to be crazy windy. So I guess we'll see what that looks like. It's not too bad right now, but we're supposed to get like 30-mile-an-hour winds later. So we'll see how good my tent is. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Turning off the devices, just getting quiet, sitting inside my own head. Maybe that'll be a little uncomfortable, but there's growth in that too. So I hope that you guys enjoy the video, and we'll check back in on the other side and kind of tell you how it went for us. Talk to y'all soon.
All right, let's do this. So here's my recap and takeaway from the 24-hour silent meditation retreat. So Spanish Creek, where I went, is a really special place for me. In September of 2014, when I quit drinking my first 30 alcohol-free days, I went up to Spanish Creek as much as I could. I think almost every single day. And I told myself, Paul, just keep on walking. Don't go back to Bozeman. I almost had like an unofficial rule until the sun set. And I remember back then, there were times when I would walk to this waterfall. It's like a 4-mile hike. And I just said, Paul, all I wanted to do was just to turn around. But I said, Paul, just keep going, keep moving forward. But I recall back then in 2014 that my thinking mind was absolutely nuts. There was no slowing that thing down. But knowing what I know now looking back, I was fully identified with the thinking mind. And a better way to say that is the separation of the thinking mind, that process hadn't begun yet. So I was able to zoom out this trip after 6 years away from alcohol and see the progress. And guys, probably 30 minutes after setting up my tent, mindfulness became the default mode of consciousness, right? Where in 2014, for those 30 days that I went up to Spanish Creek, mindfulness, it didn't even exist. It wasn't even a concept that I was aware of yet. So it was real special to do this retreat in that same location and see the progress. Now, the easier part for me was the meditations. And again, when I started this journey 6 years ago, meditation was really difficult. The thinking mind, again, was out of control. And I want to clarify that I still have thoughts, but the difference is when I have them now, I can let them go. They show up and they can go. Where before, if it was a good thought, either good or bad, I would latch onto that for an undetermined amount of time. It really wasn't up to me. I didn't have that awareness or the capacity to step away from those thoughts. So the meditations this time were easy. They were enjoyable. I was looking forward to the next meditation. In fact, the 30-minute meditation at 7 p.m. my time was one of the best meditations I've ever had. I reached a level of consciousness where I don't think I've ever reached yet. In the 30 minutes, when my timer went off, it felt like it was 5 or 6 minutes. It was really neat. Now, there were some challenges with this retreat that I didn't fully anticipate. First one is bears. So I've probably camped in bear country 100 nights, and I feel educated on how to do so. And if you do know what you're doing in bear country, it's really a non-issue for the most part. However, in Spanish Creek where I went, it's a really grizzly bear heavy area. And for some reason, I got scared, right? And I recognized around 11 p.m. when I was going to bed, I didn't have bear spray in my tent. So I put on my headlamp and I walked back to my car where I had left it. And it's about a 1/4-mile walk each way. So you can imagine that 1/4-mile walk with my headlamp in the dark forest. My mind was going, right? I'm like, oh no, now is when the bear shows up. Of course. But I got my bear spray, no problem. And I went back to the tent. And spoiler alert, I didn't see a bear. So I got my tent and tried to go back to sleep. And around midnight, an old familiar player showed up in the stomach area called hunger, right? And this is a different type of hunger. It's almost like an emotional comfort eating. And this is something that I dealt with in my 20s, my early 30s, and also on this run of being alcohol free as well. But fortunately, I don't wake up in the middle of the night and have the desire or the need to emotionally eat. However, at midnight in my tent, I had that feeling and I knew, it was like, oh gosh, when I get it, it's almost like it's impossible to go to bed. So I got up and there's this like gourmet freeze-dried ginger curry chicken, but the whole process took like 30 minutes. I have to boil water, get it from the river, boil it for 10 minutes, let it sit in the pack. And so from that process was 30 minutes and I was sitting there just looking at the stars. And guys, Montana is the big sky state. The stars are absolutely unbelievable. And while I was eating this ginger curry chicken out of this bag, it was so delicious. I would go really slow and I would eat with each bite, enjoy it. And I would look up at the stars and I was there till about 1:30 in the morning. So I did my best not to recognize the emotional eating as a problem, right? I simply brought awareness to it and I brought consciousness to it. What previously was an unconscious behavior, I'd wake up in the middle of the night and just start eating. I was almost out of control. This time I brought awareness to it. I was consciously bringing the food to my mouth, consciously chewing it, inviting the food into my body, and inviting the stars in on the experience. And I was in this chair with my dog next to me at 1:30 in the morning watching the most beautiful stars I've ever seen. I think I saw two shooting stars. It was incredible. So I did my best not to label it as a problem and just said, okay, here's what we need to do. We're going to go back to bed. We're going to enjoy this experience. And it was just that. It was enjoyable. So the next day, I woke up and I was feeling an incredible sense of calm and peace and some accomplishment as well, right? What Kris and I set out to do was challenging. Not a lot of people do it. And I highly encourage you guys to do so. Please block off some time. It doesn't have to be 24 hours in the wilderness, right? But it can be an hour. You can do your own 30-minute or hour meditation retreat in your backyard or even in your car seat, right? So we want to build in this time where we can separate from the thinking mind, where we can allow that process, almost facilitate this process, entice it and move it along. So Kris, great idea. What was your experience like? I'm excited to hear from you.
Hey, Paul, thanks. All right, everybody, I'm going to try to do a quick recap of our 24-hour silent meditation retreat. The good stuff. For the most part, the weather was good. The first afternoon and the following morning was beautiful. There was a nice breeze coming in. It was sunny. Absolutely loved it. The lake is one of my favorite places to be. I spent a lot of time there with my family, and to be there in a tent, kind of by myself, soaking it all in, was a pretty cool experience. I think the meditations went really well. There were some challenges that I'll get into a little later. But to be able to, I don't want to say cram, but to be able to dedicate that much time to meditation over the course of 24 hours is something that in my day-to-day life I really don't get the chance to do. So it was good. It was pretty cool. The nature, the scenery, just being out there away from like the hustle and bustle and noise. I think it's good for the soul, and I loved it. Some of the challenging stuff, that gentle breeze took a shift on me that night. That first night that we were out there, you saw in the video some of the big waves coming in. There was a moment where I was worried if I was going to have to pack everything up and head back to my truck. But I was tucked into that little corner well enough that the tent held up okay. It made quite a bit of noise, but it didn't pull up any stakes or any poles. It was just flapping pretty good. Another challenge that I had that I didn't really expect was I kind of had this low-grade anxiety set in. I was thinking a lot about projects that I need to do here at the house. I was thinking about some stuff at work that's going on. There's some other side projects that I'm working on where I've got some deadlines, and I was thinking about stuff that I could be doing in regards to that. And normally I'm not the type of guy who spends a lot of time like future tripping or worrying about stuff. I'm pretty easygoing, but yeah, my mind was really preoccupied. A technique that I've learned in meditation is to acknowledge those busy thoughts as they roll in, to kind of acknowledge them for what they are. Just kind of say to the thought, however you do that, hey, it's not time for you right now. I'll deal with you later. And then focus on the breath. And then focusing on the breath will usually kind of bring me back to the present moment. I got frustrated at first with how much I had to do that. Like not just in the meditation, but just as I was kind of hanging out or walking around checking things out. My mind was it was kind of always going these other places. But one kind of cool thing is when that storm rolled in is I wasn't thinking about anything else. I had that kind of moment of urgency and it brought me right to where I needed to be. It took a little bit of chaos to allow me to focus on what I was supposed to focus on. And that was paying attention to my surroundings, where I was at, what I was doing. Is everything going to be okay right now in this moment? I don't need to worry about this other stuff. So I think it was good that happened. Even though the wind is frustrating, but it brought me to where I needed to be, and that was in the here and now. So yeah, the next day, the second day, I did the breath work in the morning. I think that was the first meditation we did in the morning, and that really helped just kind of ground me. So for the rest of that second day that we were out there, or that I was out there, kind of those busy thoughts were much less than they were the day before. When we did our walking wildlife meditation, it was just windy enough that there really wasn't any sort of wildlife hanging out. But I put a picture in there of a bee that I saw, and I spent most of that time just watching that bee. And that was like another reminder of just focusing on the task at hand. I don't think that bee is worrying about what it's going to do next week or what it did last week. It's just kind of focusing on what it needs to do and giving the full attention to the thing that it's on. And that was kind of my takeaway from the whole thing. I thought, or maybe secretly hoped, that I would get some big revelation and some clear-cut plan with a direction that I need to head in my life. But that's not it. I've got a good job. I've got a good life. I've got a great family. And I think that there's opportunities that are going to continue to present themselves for me, whether it's professionally or personally. I'm kind of busy a lot of the time. I've got a lot of stuff going on. So in a week or 2 weeks since we did this, a change that I've made is I actually have like a paper planner. And I go through and these projects that I'm working on, I allot everything its time. And if I start to worry about, oh man, I got to work on X, Y, or Z, well, I've got that scheduled for this day. So the moment that I'm in, I'm going to do whatever it is that I'm doing, whether it's family time or my regular job. I don't have to worry about those things when it's not their time. And having that actual paper planner has kind of helped me execute that a little bit. It's not the most glamorous revelation to happen on a 24-hour retreat, I don't think. But I think it's something that's going to set me up for the future. It's going to help me build that foundation on stone, on solid ground, versus building on that foundation of sand that kind of washes away when the real trials come. So I feel like it's going to help set me up down the road for any opportunities that might come my way. So that's what I got. That was kind of my takeaway. If anybody else tries this or tries something similar to this, please let us know in the comments. Shoot us an email. Let us know what your experience was like. I'd love to hear about it.
Guys, thanks for watching. And let us know in the comment area. Again, let's get that dialogue started there. Let us know if you've done something similar, if you've done a silent meditation retreat. I did a 6-day one in May of 2019 up at Flathead Lake, Montana. It was a great experience. And even these 24-hour ones are a really good way to kind of go back into that mindset and connecting back in nature. So, all right, guys, love you. Thanks for watching. See you next video.